little used portion of the town code under Chapter 185, where you have the rare opportunity to actually hear testimony from your building department as to certain zoning violations that have occurred at a particular property. And in this particular case, the town can actually utilize self-help measures, corrective measures to remediate a problem at a particular location. And Ms. Breeze, who's our deputy zoning administrator, has now been sworn in, and she's ready to testify.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Breeze.
You may need to hold the microphone up in your, you can lift it up too if you want to.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Oh, thank you. There's only one, right?
Yeah.
Mrs. Breeze, by whom you employed?
Town of Wappinger,
In what capacity?
Deputy Zoning Administrator,
And how long have you been in that capacity with the town?
approximately 4 years.
And what are your duties and responsibilities as deputy zoning administrator?
I assist the zoning administrator in...
Get the mic, I'm sorry, the microphone
Sorry.
closer so it's picked
Okay.
up on the audio.
I assist the zoning administrator in reviewing permits, enforcing the code, reviewing building permits, and giving out permits.
Are you familiar with the property known as 1397 Route 376?
I am.
And how are you so familiar?
I've been to that property many times for violations.
And can you please explain to the board what type of property is that property?
They have property maintenance under Code 185-3D and G, rubbish, debris, and trash on the property, as well as multiple unregistered vehicles.
And is that property residential?
It is one family, single.
And when did you start investigating that particular property?
Approximately June of '21.
June of 2021?
Correct.
And how often have you been back to that property since June of 2021?
I approximately visit that property at least every 14 to 21 days.
And during the course of your investigation, have you become familiar with the occupants?
I absolutely have.
Who lives there?
Juliet S. McGregor and Christopher McGregor,
And what are their relationships?
mother and son.
And who owns the property?
Juliet S. McGregor in trust.
And does Mr. McGregor live there,
He does,
to your knowledge?
yes.
And has he been at that particular home during your visits?
He is mostly correct.
Did there come a time in June of 2021 in which you were asked to conduct a zoning enforcement investigation?
I was.
And who brought your attention to that particular home?
We received a complaint from a resident, one in particular complained several times, and we did go out to review the property.
And when you first went to the subject property, what did you observe?
I observed multiple unregistered vehicles that did not have plates on them, and I also observed multiple bags of what I appeared to be trash, household goods, car parts, refrigerator, microwave, carts, mechanical tools.
And in your 2 years that you've been going back and forth to that particular home, approximately how many times would you say you've made the visits to that home?
About 50 at least.
And compared to June of 2021, what does that property look like today?
The vehicles that remain on the property basically remain as they were in place, except for one that has moved. And the assorted items of rubbish, trash, and debris have been moved around, but again, most of it remains.
And were the occupants of that particular home charged with any property maintenance violations in town justice court?
They were.
And to your knowledge, have any of those charges resulted in convictions?
They have.
And approximately how many counts have resulted in convictions?
I believe on separate occasions, 2 for Mr. McGregor, and then another 15 to 20 for Mr. McGregor.
Okay, and since those convictions occurred, or when did they occur? Did they occur in what year?
They occurred this year for violations previous.
And since Mr. McGregor's conviction on those charges, has the property condition changed in a positive manner?
Slightly.
When you say slightly, can you explain?
I was out there today, and he did have a 26-foot moving van and a 10-foot box truck. He did have 2 helpers that were assisting loading some of the debris on. The cars are still in place, but yes, he removed some items.
I'm going to direct your attention to April 4 of 2023. Did you happen to have an occasion to go to the subject property?
I did.
And what did you observe when you went there on that date?
I observed the vehicles that I have been observing in the same place, and I observed multiple items of debris, rubbish, and trash, including household goods, bags of leaves, racks. I observed multiple car parts. I observed many containers of what should have had gasoline or some type of product like that. I observed, unfortunately, a lot of dog feces around the yard and multiple branches and limbs laying around. Just the same trash, rubbish, and debris that I've been observing.
Did you prepare an inspection report to memorialize what you observed?
I did.
And did you note all of your observations from that particular date in your report?
I did.
Do you have that report here today, and have you given that to the board?
I have it on, I'm not sure if they've received it, but it is on the, if you could pull up 4-4 on that drive. Please. If you could.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought it was all set. Okay.
Well, have you prepared pictures for the board to review that show what the property looked like on April 4th?
Yes, they do have that in front of them, April 4th, it's dated, and there's 2 packets, one for the 24th and one for the 4th.
Are they time-stamped?
They are.
Okay.
The front pages on those.
We'll take us through your packet. Do you have that time-stamped packet?
I do.
What does the first picture represent?
The first picture represents my site plan with a car. That is one of the Blackwoods, I believe, the Lincoln Blackwoods, which there are 3 on the property. The second page again shows one of the vehicles. The third page shows multiple items of the mechanicals that I was speaking about. That's in the, if you're on top of a hill facing the property, that is by the back door. The Blackwood that you see on the side there is next to Topo Hill, which is considered the front of the property per town code. That Blackwood has remained, and I apologize for not being prepared, but on June 7th, I have a picture of that Blackwood in that exact same position. The fourth page, again, is the Blackwood. The fifth page is showing another vehicle. I believe that's a Lincoln Aviator, if I'm not mistaken, and multiple items of debris and rubbish. And these, I apologize, they're dark. Another Blackwood. Then you get into this additional pages. These are all just vehicles, and there's multiple of the same vehicle, so that's why you're seeing several pictures. I think it's page 5 or 6 where you start to see the car parts and just piles of rubbish, tarps, gas containers. If you look in the back of the picture, and again, I apologize that it's dark, you're going to see what is a box truck. That box truck has been in place probably since 2014, 2017. tree above has fallen on it. It is crushed on the top. And I believe Mr. McGregor has informed me that that is going to be removed, as most of the vehicles he's claimed. The fifth page, which is a little lighter, shows again some of those car parts, hoods. There is one deconstructed Mercury, I believe it is, in the back. You can see the engine parts sticking there. Most of that is stripped. It is not drivable, as most of these cars appear not to be. And next to that is another vehicle. That vehicle is the one that has been moved. It's moved to the more of the rear, more towards Topo Hill. It's still the front of the property. So basically, these pages just continue, and what they show, the page that shows the F600, which is a white truck, and that shows all of the rubbish in front of it. There is a trailer there, if you can see it is covered by a tarp. On that trailer has a, what I assume to be an empty oil tank. That has remained there, and again, pictures that I can show you, and I apologize that I don't have them here readily available to view, that these parts have been on that property forever. So there's chairs, there's bags of debris, the wheelbarrow full of items. But basically what my concerns are, this property, besides the vehicles, there's multiple containers. I do not know what they contain. They would have contained some type of flammable, items. Mr. McGregor explained they were from his brother's house, but again, I've seen them there for quite some time. And if you just keep going through, you'll see the piles. Another vehicle. And then you get to the part where there is a vintage car. It is a white car. Nothing has plates on it. And you'll see multiple storage items, fenders, tires, a commercial fan, excuse me. This just goes on and on, pretty much about what I deal with when I'm doing this property maintenance with Mr. McGregor. There's another picture that shows the trailer from the front end. Again, it's tarped. That trailer is not movable. It has several issues, so Mr. McGregor has talked about working on that. Then you're going to get to the page which shows the corner of the house. It shows another Blackwood. It shows batteries on the ground covered by tarps. There's tires. There's got to be at least 50 tires. There's jugs of what could have been milk jugs, water jugs. One of the pictures has Mr. McGregor sitting in it in a chair. It's got milk crates, etc. And as you can see, these cars are partially covered with tarps in instances. They're missing, parts. The tires are flat. You could not drive these off. If you go to the third to the last page, the pile that I'm looking at, there's a big yellow, what looks like a Home Depot container, water jugs, multiple debris from falling limbs, etc. That pile there has been reported to be there since 2017, and under those tarps, etc., are more tires, rusted bicycles, just metal debris that should be recycled. The next to the last page is one of the cars that's deconstructed with the tarp that is blown off. That is open to the environment, any rodents, etc. It is not salvageable, as Mr. McGregor has himself discussed. And then the last page shows that I was out there on 4/4. I always end my pictures with a time and date from the car so that I can say I know that's the end of the package.
Ms. Breeze, are these vehicles, are they junked vehicles as defined in our code?
They are unregistered, and they are considered junk vehicles.
Are some of them dismantled or in whole or in part?
Many of them are dismantled. There's at least 2 or 3 that are completely dismantled, various parts laying around. The Blackwood, the 3 Blackwoods are probably in the best shape. However, they are also missing components such as, the front end, bumpers, grills. The 2 vintage cars are, the roof on the one is completely caving in, and the other car has a door, I believe, off.
And does any of them have valid license plates?
They do not.
And do they all, would you say that they all require extensive repair to be placed into drivable condition?
Absolutely.
And did Mr. McGregor claim that he owned those vehicles?
He did.
And have you had conversations about him, did you have conversations with him about the removal of those vehicles on April 4?
Yes. At pretty much every site visit, I do create a site visit sheet, which he does sign. And what we do is basically go around the property and talk about what is on the property and what he plans to do with it.
As a result of your observations on April 4, did you prepare a notice of violation and order to remedy?
I did.
When did you prepare that?
I prepared that, I believe, on the 4th of April.
Did there come a time in which you served it on the occupants?
I did, on April 14th.
Take us through what happened on April 14th.
On April 14th, I was serving the order to remedy. I went over to the house. Dan Franks, our deputy building inspector, drove. We attempted to pull in the driveway. There were 2 garbage cans blocking our entry. We were on 376, so you don't want to take a chance because it's not the greatest of entries. We did go around top of hill. He pulled to the side. As I was getting out, Mr. McGregor was coming out to greet me, which he usually does. He somehow knows I'm coming and he's there. At that point, I asked him permission to walk onto the property. He said, okay. I did explain to him that I was there and that I needed to see Mrs. McGregor and asked if she was home. He said she was. He went in the house and then he invited me in. I then went into the house. Mrs. McGregor was seated in the chair on the left. Mr. McGregor stood to the right and I stood in front of the door. I asked if they were, in fact, Julia S. McGregor and Christopher McGregor. They said they were. I asked if they served in the military. They said they did not. I then told them that I was there to serve them the OTR. I explained to them why I was serving it. It was for property maintenance. It was for D and G, that we were talking about the rubbish, the debris, and the trash and the vehicles. I then explained that there would be a meeting, and it was all explained on the bottom of what I handed them. I served Juliet. I served Christopher separate by OTRs, and I explained to them that they needed to, they had the opportunity to come to the town board. I also explained to them that I had to post it on the front door, which I did.
Okay, then the OTR and the notice of violation are in your packet with bright red lettering. Do you have that in front of you?
I know it by heart.
And is that the document that you served upon Mr. McGregor and Mrs. McGregor
It
on
is.
April 14?
It is.
And you explained the contents to each of them?
I did.
And what did Mrs. McGregor seem to understand the explanation?
She did. She actually understood it, and she said to me, oh, good, because Mrs. McGregor and I have had many conversations about this issue that is on the property, and she has been more than willing to explain that she does not happy with it, and she would like to get it cleared up. So when she heard that we may, in fact, have a meeting at town board to discuss the possible removal of any of these items, she was pleased.
And did Mr. McGregor seem to understand what the contents of this particular notice of violation was?
He did.
And did you explain it to him?
I certainly did.
And what did the notice of violation in order to remedy say with respect to compliance, future compliance?
It said that on this date, April of 24th, which was 7 days from the time I served it, they had the opportunity to appear before the town board, that we would be having a meeting to discuss the possible remedy of this OTR and violations.
And to your knowledge, does the notice give Mr. McGregor an opportunity to present proof that the property is now in compliance with the code?
It absolutely has.
And does the notice also instruct them what would happen if they are not compliant?
It did. It stated that the town would be having this meeting, at which time it was in its rights to decide to remove those vehicles as well as that property.
And do you see Mr. McGregor in this room today?
I do see Mr. McGregor.
So I'm going to fast forward you to today,
Okay.
or actually to Friday, the 21st. Were you at the subject property on the 21st?
I did go out, and no one was home. I did knock. The house was vacant, but I did observe and take pictures of what remained the same property maintenance violation.
And did you go back today before this hearing?
I did.
What time?
I was out there at 3 o'clock today.
Okay, what did you observe?
I observed that Mr. McGregor was there with the, like I said, 26-foot moving van, a 10 box truck. He had workers assisting him. He had removed quite a number of bags of leaves. He had also started removing several items. He had one patch that was clear. I will give him credit for that. The vehicles, however, do remain in place. They are unable to be moved. He explained to me that because he had to monitor his workers, he was not able to remove the items, that he would be attempting to do that this evening. He has a 2-hour drive to place them, and I believe he was taking them to another property he owns in Ulster County. So I was observing the worker, one worker, I didn't see the other worker, the one worker was removing items and putting them into the 26-foot moving van.
You brought a lot of pictures here today for this hearing. Do those pictures reflect or accurately reflect how the condition of the property appeared today?
They do. So today I went out, and you'll see 4 packets, and they're marked April 24th. And what I did to assist Mr. Greger, and he and I had a conversation, as well as we did write of a site plan visit today, which he signed. I explained to him, because we were having this meeting and today was the date that we had discussed having to, make a decision on what was going to be occurring with that property, I wanted to document this, and he agreed. We walked the property. So there's 4 packets. I don't think you want me to go picture by picture, but if you leaf through them, you will see, like the second picture, that vintage car has been there since June of 2021 on my first visit there. The 3rd page contains that trailer that, and behind it is the F600. That F600 has not been there since June. It's been there probably about a year and a half. That trailer has been full of those same items. It has been moved from one location to another. It used to be on the front of the property facing Topo Hill. It is now back towards the other F600. 3rd page shows the worker. The 4th page, again, that vehicle he did move from behind into closer to Topo Hill, but it has not gone anywhere since then. And if you just go down, you'll see debris, car parts, filing cabinets. Because he did move that car, he exposed some items that I had previously not seen, that doghouse and certain covers for the truck beds, I believe. He's told me the name twice, but I can't remember it. And then again, so if you look through it, you'll see some of the up-close pictures where the branches are covering debris, household chairs, a radio flyer, buckets of liquid, unknown font of what it is, actually. Again, the picture with the blue tarp shows the dismantled car. I think that's a Mustang. And you could just go through a couple pictures, one showing filing cabinets, chairs, grills, tires, racks for refrigerators, Tupperware, Rubbermaid containers, lids. So I think these pictures tell the story of what the item looks like. I actually compared some of these pictures to the June of 2021 pictures, and some of these items are the exact same pictures in those. And again, I apologize that I don't have my drive up and running.
Mr. Priest, did you explain to Mr. McGregor that part of tonight's hearing would be to ascertain what, if any, corrective actions would need to be taken in order to get the property back into compliance?
I did.
And have you had departmental meetings over the past month to discuss how to get the property into compliance?
We have.
And have you consulted local businesses to get prices and contracts from them and quotes as to cleanup costs?
We have.
I'm going to direct your attention to the first section, 185 3D, is it David? The debris. What company did you consult for that corrective action?
That would be 1-800-JUNK.
And did you get quotes for the cleanup of the home?
We did.
Okay. Do you have that quote in the packet?
They have that in front of them, I believe. We did, and they quoted us $22,864.24 to remove approximately 15 tires, which there's quite a number more than that, and then a full load, which is all the rubbish, debris, and trash that they visualized from the property that they could from 376 and Topo Hill.
And how much was that amount?
2864.24. Excuse me, that is 3 full loads. I apologize, it's more than one.
And did you get quotes on the removal of the junk vehicles?
I did.
And how many businesses replied to your request for proposal?
We had 3.
Okay, can you take us through those?
So we have Mama's Towing, who's these are just the vehicles now, and Mama's Towing is quoting us a charge of $150 an hour. They believe it'll take less than 10 hours to move those vehicles. That would be the 1 box truck, the 7 vehicles, the 1 boat with the trailer, and the 1 unregistered trailer. That's, Mr. McGregor gets to decide if he wants to keep, he has registered 1 boat, so he's claimed he wants to keep that. And he does have 1 availability to have 1 unregistered vehicle, and he is discussing that he wants to move the F600 into the driveway and keep that. So the other items would be what would be removed at that price.
And are any of those businesses willing to and able to clean up the junk vehicles, all the junk vehicles, all at once?
They're basically going to take things that have tires on them.
And do you have the quote for 1-800-JUNK in front of you?
Yes.
'Cause the job detail I have has a total of $2,864
24.
and
Yes.
24 cents.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know if I misspoke, but that is correct.
And are there any other proposals to get the property into compliance that we haven't covered here at this hearing?
Yes, Wappinger Auto Tech also gave us a quote, and that was to bring 1 trailer, 1 boat on a trailer, 7 motor vehicles, and 2 deconstructed vehicles. And that would be a quote of $1,784.06.
All right, I'll just turn over the hearing to the town board if they have any questions of Ms. Breeze.
Mr. Breeze, question, has the subject that you've communicated with on the property indicated a willingness to remedy the situation in full?
Mr. McGregor and I have been speaking for over 2 years at this point, or almost 2 years, and he has continually advised me that he's cleaning up. Signed it, told me exactly what vehicle and what material he would be removing and when. And to this date, that has not occurred. When I went out today, this was the first time that he had moved some items. But again, we have been talking about this, and he has been informing me of his willingness, being ready to do it, but it has not been completed.
Thank you.
And this has been going on for how long?
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, this has been going on for how long? How many years?
I've been dealing with it since '21. Apparently, in this town, it has been going on and off since '14. '17, it was cleared, although I question that being a complete truth because I can see some of the same items.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just if we go ahead with these vendors, how do we attach the bill to the resident?
So, under the town code, with respect to the cost of remediating the property, all of the costs that are associated would be itemized and detailed. After the remediation is complete, under our code and under town law, The property owner is then served with a copy of the costs. Oh, sorry. The items, the costs would be detailed in an itemized list, and then that itemized list of the costs would be served upon the property owner pursuant to our town code, and then I believe he has 10 days to file an objection, or at, at the time we serve the notice of the costs, it would provide a time by which the property owner would have an opportunity to object. The town board then would review the list of itemized costs, make a determination if they're appropriate, and if they should find them to be appropriate, they would then be assessed on the subsequent year's tax bill.
With respect to the vehicles, where would we move those to?
My understanding is at this point in time, the vehicles would be moved to the town highway garage. Where
The recycle yard you're talking
The
about?
recycle yard, yes. I apologize. The recycle yard, and the applicant would have an opportunity to redeem them, so if you so choose, by paying the costs of the removal of the vehicles, and, with the understanding that he could not return them to the place where they came from.
How much time does he have to, take back the vehicles and move them someplace?
That would be at the discretion of the board. Our
Board.
code doesn't really take that into account, but, I think in discussions with the highway superintendent, we talked about 30 days.
Okay.
And how many opportunities has he had? I know he's been to court a number of times. I know that the last 6, for various reasons, hasn't been able to attend. But has he been given ample time in front of the judge, et cetera? Judy?
Yes, I mean, he's been,
And he's been asked a number of times to be able to remedy the property.
and he's
So-
indicated that he would do so, but he has not.
As a matter of fact, he told you on the 24th, last time you spoke at court, he told you to have it all cleaned up by then, correct, Jim?
He indicated that he would attempt to do that, yes.
So again, we've given him ample time to try to clean up the property. It's not like this has been over the last month or two. This is over a long period of time.
Correct.
Okay.
So, Mr. Walsh, what is the code section again that gives the board the power, this is a civil action, the power to, do the remedial action?
Yes, this is 185-6H. There's a procedure for assessment of costs and expenses that Jim just explained that would result in a lien on the property, and that would go against the taxes and be charged as an assessment at the end of the year. And there's a procedure that's set forth right in that particular part of the code that we would have to follow in order to perfect the lien.
Okay, thank you.
And has he also had an opportunity to have an attorney in court with him as well, to represent him? He's been offered. Has he ever accepted?
I've been there, and he stated that he was going to bring an attorney, but an attorney never did appear.
Okay,
But he does have an opportunity to be heard today, so
absolutely.
I'd ask the board to ask him if he wants to appear and make a statement.
One more question. You had said he had 30 days to remove the vehicles from the highway department. Would it be additional cost after that for the highway department to dispose of the vehicles?
Yeah, what we would do in that time frame is, should they not be redeemed, we would go to court and obtain an order for title to the vehicles unless the defendant, unless Mr. McGregor should, give us title, at which point we would, we've been in discussions with recycling, scrap yards that would take the vehicles. So we've engaged in that. The one thing is that in order to scrap the vehicles, the dismantler requires title and consent from the owner or a court order.
Okay.
And those scrap yards, as I understand it, based on our research, would also, compensate for the cost of the value of the metal
Yes,
and whatever
correct.
they
And that would
recoup.
offset,
That would-
costs. We would
yeah.
give that as an offset
Right.
as to the costs of removal.
I have no further questions. Angela?
No, I
Anybody?
don't either. You
Okay.
best. Thank you.
Mr. McGregor would like to speak.
Mr. Thurston, would it be possible to cross-examine Judith?
That's not,
No.
As to what I
No.
said?
No.
Okay.
You may come up to the podium and make your statement. No?
no. The purpose of your statement would be to refute whether or not you're in compliance or not. So it-
Well, I'm going to make a statement about what she said, about what you said, about what I intend to do and what I'm doing. I'm not going to limit what I'm going to say.
Just point of order before we continue.
Christopher McGregor, 1397 Route 376.
Does the subject need to be sworn?
yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Definitely. He's a witness. Thank you.
Christopher McGregor. I, Christopher McGregor.
Do solemnly swear
Affirm
to tell the truth,
to tell the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
nothing but the truth.
nothing but the truth. So help me God. All right, so first I'd like to address what Judith just said that all you always said is going to do this. And that is that right now, at this moment, there is a 26-foot moving van in the yard collecting stuff with myself and a two-man crew, which is going to come back on tomorrow. And in addition to that, my landscaper is going to come and neaten up because there's a complaint that there's brush that's unkempt. All right, so that's what's actually going on at the moment. There's also a 10-foot box truck loaded with, there's 50 garbage bags. You know what they're filled with? They're filled with leaves that the landscaper loaded, cleaning up the yard. Okay, so there's leaves and tires in the 10-foot box truck, which is going to be emptied tomorrow. I was going to tow 2 cars today, got up early, 5 o'clock in the morning, lost the key to the one, and then when my workers arrived, I realized I had to supervise them, so I couldn't leave the property, okay? So I have a car trailer, I had to pack the bearings, rebuild the axles. It's ready to go, it's attached to the 10-foot box truck, it's in the front yard. All I gotta do is back it up to a Lincoln Blackwood on the side of the house, and that's my next act, okay? I explained to Judith that there's an unregistered Lincoln Blackwood, which I intend to drive. I'm waiting for an insurance card to come in the mail. It was mailed on Friday. Okay, so that's one vehicle. I registered the boat. I didn't hear that mentioned. Boat's registered. Okay, right? I went through, I got the list right here, actually. 71 Cougar convertible. It doesn't have a roof because it's convertible. That's going to be scrapped. I don't need help scrapping the vehicle. I got the car trailer, I got the truck. I'm going to back it up to the Cougar, load it on, off it goes. F600 is going to go where the box truck is now. There's a box truck there, which is not registered, and I'm going to be hauling away the box truck to Ulster County. The 85 Mustang GT is going to scrap. No wheels on it. There's another 2002 Lincoln Blackwood that's going to be taken off the property, moving into Ulster County. And then there's another one on the side of the house, which I washed because it was going somewhere where it's going to be visible. So it looks nice now. That's going to be taken away. The trailer that's unregistered, I'm going to take off the property. The Lincoln Aviator I was going to scrap this morning, but quite frankly, I lost the key. Because I was going to drive it on the car trailers because it would be quick. So I got to either tow it with a winch or find the key. So if I don't find the key, I'll be towing with the winch. 2001 F-150 to be scrapped. Again, just got to load it on, take it away. I don't need any help with that. Now, one thing that wasn't mentioned, Mr. Casella, and by the way, my family's lived at that location since 1962, and we had cows from the Midpoint Park, before it became Midpoint Park, in our backyard. They came through the fence, knocked the fence down. I used to play in a 30s Packard behind the barn, which is right about where Mr. Casella's house is today. And so we have a long history on that property. And also the changing of the codes. There was a gas station that went in after zoning, which was a non-conforming use, which today is RAD. So anyway, my mother was the secretary for continuing education until she was 73 years old when she retired. And the next year, she fell ill. And so part of my purpose for coming back there was to keep an eye on her, because she has a medical condition. And so it's good to have somebody there. As a matter of fact, she fell yesterday. And yesterday she turned 89. And also known as 50-year anniversary of 39 years in holding. So anyway, I don't mean to have conflict with the town, and I apologize for making a mess. You could say I make a mess wherever I go. And, you know, some people might say, well, it's a mental illness, well, it's hoarding, you know. So anyway, I see the error of my ways, and I need to clean up. I'm in the middle of cleaning up, and so I would prefer, like, I had 1-800-JUNK came and took my tires once. I had some tires, and they came and took them. They took 4 brand new tires, and they wouldn't give them back when I put it out. So they steal, they're dishonest. They're gonna go through the stuff, like right now, most of the good stuff is going into the 26-foot box truck, and there's a whole bunch of bags of leaves still, and tires, they're all gone. And so if they came and just took the garbage, that wouldn't be so bad, but the problem is, they take more than the garbage. They take whatever they want. And you know, Mrs. Roberti was saying, it's all junk. It's like, well, how about that engine crane? Is that junk? That's gotta be $300 right there. I mean, so, you know, it would be a smoother move to let me continue with what I am doing right now. Not what I'm talking about doing, but what I'm doing right now. I got 2 trucks over there, 2 U-Hauls over there, all right? And I got people working. So, I don't know how long it takes for this enforcement action to start, but if it was held in abeyance for a week, that would be fine, because I'd be done by then. So, you know, rather than pick a fight, make a mess, expenses, you know, I was sick, very sick, couldn't walk for a month, and I had Lyme, I had a tick inside my back for 10 weeks before it finally came out. And so I was not well. People say, well, what's wrong with it? I say, I wasn't well, you know, and I feel good now. I'm walking a little funny, but I'm much better. I couldn't walk at all for a month. So anyway, so there's been a period of time where I couldn't get stuff done, but now I'm doing something. I'm in the middle of doing things. I'm in the middle of cleaning up. And I have that ability, and I want to continue that. And I ask for your patience, since I'm in the middle of moving. I got, that moving van has more than enough room for all the stuff that's around there. Notwithstanding the garbage, which I'll take with the other truck. But the moving van has room for everything that's out there. So why call 1-800-JUNK and take my stuff? I'll just put it in the 26-foot van. I got the crew. And, you know, the front has been stripped of just garbage and 1 tire machine. I got to use a hand truck and take that and put it in the garage. But anyway, so the front's already stripped of good stuff, you know. So anyway, let me think, what else? There's a few piles of scrap, which will go in the back of the black pickup truck that's being scrapped. All right, let me, okay, so anyway, so I would ask for your acknowledgement that I'm actually in the middle of moving, not talking about it. I mean, you know, you don't just rent 2 U-Haul trucks and park them in the yard with people coming by and filling them up, right? So, you know, I would like to finish what I'm doing. A week before the wolves come, that'd be fine. That'd work. Cars will be gone, all the stuff will be gone, and cleaned up. The landscaper will make it pretty. So anyway, that's what I have to say. Thank you for your understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So question, sir, are you saying that you need only a week to remedy all of the issues that
Yes.
have been
Yes,
brought forth?
yes,
So everything that's been detailed by our code enforcement officials will be remedied within a week?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? No,
So,
Thank you very much.
I guess the only question I have is, right, nothing personal, I've heard this before, and I know you're working hard to get it done, but I think what I'd almost like to do is pass the resolution, not execute on it, give him a week, because that's what he says he can do it in.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, if he doesn't, I think you act on the resolution. Is that fair?
That's fine.
I don't know if that's appropriate. I would move to table to the next town board meeting. If this is not completely remedied by May 8th, we will move forward. That's my position, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Reject it, adjourn the public hearing.
Yeah.
Or you can close the public hearing.
I make a-
Well,
Or close it before we do it.
well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we need to do that, and then
Well,
we have
not if
separate.
you're going to adjourn it.
Well, yeah,
I
Bill
mean, you're
says
going to have
that,
the
but.
question of
I mean,
whether or not
it's-
it's complied.
I
You know,
mean,
I mean, the other, the
We've been
other
at
option
this
is Alice, I
for
believe Alice.
years, and I think that there's been a nuisance, and I swear I would go along with Councilman Kinsella in saying that
I
we
agree.
need to give the gentleman the time, 5 days or 7 days, if 7 days is a week, Mr. McGregor, but have it so that we can enforce the action upon his noncompliance. Otherwise, there's no stick, I'm sorry
Yeah,
to say.
there wasn't a moving van and a 10-foot box truck there
I
prior
understand,
to
and I
right
think
now. Yeah.
that's part of why we would
Is-
consider giving you a little bit of leniency.
So is that a reasonable solution and compromise for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that.
So it would be a conditional
Yes.
resolution of removal, state, and a date certain. You got to give us a date, though.
Yeah.
What date?
So, if we're looking at the calendar, next week, we begin, May, and we're talking about the, 1st of May is Monday, this is the 21st, so would you have it done by the 1st of May? Can we? 24, yeah, Monday, yeah.
Is that fine, or you want?
So the conditional would be Monday, that's the first business day?
Today's kind of over, though, so I'd even go to
I'd
the
go to the
2nd.
second.
Go to May 2nd? So, because today's over, so give
Okay.
you a full week. Judith?
May I? So I just want to, for the record, state what needs to be accomplished so that we're all on the same page, including Mr. McGregor.
We have an understanding.
I know, but I want to say it for the record.
But for the
if you don't
record,
mind.
so we have the,
So the F-600 that's in the front side yard, Mr. McGregor has stated that that's going to be his unregistered vehicle, correct?
Yes.
So he needs to move that into the driveway. That can't be on the dirt, on the ground, on the grass. It has to be in the driveway. That's going to be the one unregistered vehicle. The boat, which he has registered, is 4 feet from the property line. We're assuming the property line is where the favorite neighbor's fence is. It has to be 10 feet. So he's clear he's got to move that, again, away from the property line, and that's got to be, by this date certain, got to be done. So he's going to have one unregistered vehicle, which would be the F-600. He's going to have whatever registered vehicles he has in his driveway. And the boat, even if it's registered, has got to be 10 feet from the property line. So no vehicles in the front yard, everything in the driveway that's registered, and including the unregistered vehicle. So I just wanted, for the record, that to be clear.
Do you understand that, Mr. McGregor?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Judith.
any other comments?
No.
And I would say we close the public hearing, and then at least have a motion to see if we close the public hearing. Is that
Make a
correct?
motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, the motion to close the public hearing passes. Okay, so the next item then would be the resolution, the conditional resolution, as Mr. Wallace says.
Okay, so with respect to the resolution, you would just then amend the resolution to add that, so the last paragraph is 8, so we would add a paragraph 9, which states that this resolution shall be stayed until May 2nd.
2023?
May 2nd at 12, the end of business? Yeah. So is that the intent, is to give him May 2nd to clean it up?
Yes,
Yeah.
give them that.
Yeah.
Right,
Thing,
stayed
yes.
through close of business May 2nd. So in essence, everything has to be cleaned up by May 3rd. And I think that I think it would be prudent to add, attached to the resolution is a list of the vehicles, or I should say, attached to the order to abate is a list of the vehicles. Maybe if Judith would amend that list to indicate which vehicles are staying
Right.
and which would
Right,
be removed.
okay. That seems
That's-
okay with me.
That sounds
Yeah.
reasonable.
So do we have a motion based on what Jim has said?
Based on the amended wording here that the attorney just gave us, the resolution will be stayed till May 2nd, close of business, and then, of course, a vehicle listing. Make a motion that we approve the resolution.
I'll
Second.
it.
Just on the question, so clarification on this. So by close of business on May, what was it, May 2nd?
May
Yep.
2nd,
Who's making this decision?
I would say,
That all of these stipulations are met?
Judith, would
Judith.
So based on Judith's determination, I'm not comfortable with this entire process, just for the record. I don't feel comfortable with being the judge and jury for an individual before the town board. Never seen this before in 17 years, okay? I understand that this is a procedural aspect of a statute within the code. I get that. Not comfortable with it, okay? I don't think that we should be creating these stipulations on the floor without coming back as a full body and making this decision. So I don't support this approach.
So we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote nay.
Okay,
Okay.
got nay. Okay, thank you. And Mr. McGregor, thank you, and please encourage you to go do that and work with Judith on this, okay?
Judith, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other new business items, special consideration?
That correspondence law.
Didn't we already approved the correspondence law? Yes.
We did?
We acknowledge
Okay,
that.
missed
yes.
that, sorry.
Okay. If not, I have a motion for executive session for 3 items. One is a specific complaint or a specific individual personnel, complaint that we have received. The second is a specific employee compensation issue outside of the CBA for a specific individual. And the third is a contract price negotiations issue. So do I have a motion on that?
Motion. I
Second.
move it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Seeing none, motion passed.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Craig.